Welcome, Father Kelly.
Hello, Michelle. How are you?
I'm okay. I was going to call you Duck, but I figured, at least for the opener, we'll call you Father Kelly because you are a dear friend of mine I call Duck, but you are a respectable Father Kelly. So how are you?
Maybe later on during the broadcast, we could let them know where Duck came from.
Yeah, we should.
Sounds good.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me on Michelle's Conversations That Matter. This is absolutely an important conversation to have this week and beyond.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that we have maintained our friendship through, oh my goodness, has it been like 30 some years? I think
32
years we've known each other.
That's how many years I'm ordained. So it's 32 years.
Wow, that's a long time. I really feel old right now.
How do you think I feel?
I am so happy that you're here. We are going to talk about the power of gratitude today. It is the week of Thanksgiving. It is a practice that is so important to me and I know is important to you, but one that I think should be year-round, although a lot of people are present to what they're grateful for, especially this week, the week of Thanksgiving. So before we dive in and start talking about gratitude, could you please introduce yourself so the audience knows who you are, where you live, and what you do?
Sure. My name is Rich Kelly. In case you haven't guessed, I'm a Catholic priest by my uniform, so to speak. As we mentioned, I'm priest for 32 years. 1988 to the present. My reason I know Michelle so well is my very first parish was Holy Trinity in Westfield, where I landed when I was a brand new priest, probably about 30 pounds thinner, and I had a full head of black hair. So I have been through a number of parishes. I've been a pastor 4 times. I'm currently a pastor at Sacred Heart here in Rochelle Park. Before this, I was actually doing something that I've always wanted to do in my priesthood. I was a campus minister at Felician University working with college students. And that's a passion that I had, bringing Christ and the gospel to young people, as Michelle would know. So it was great to be on a college campus. And the Cardinal, after 4 years, called me back and asked me to be a pastor again. And I said yes. At first it was really hard, because I enjoy working with young people, and but it was good. And I'm here for a little over 3 years now, so here I am. That's who I am.
And you're a little humble because you have really made a difference in that church. The work that you've done. We before the pandemic began, you and I had a lovely dinner together, and you were sharing with me some of the work you've done for the church and how you really transformed and helped build that parish. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Every parish has a history, and as a pastor, you go in and you observe things and you see, what might need to be done, or, what hasn't been done, or what needs to be done. And one of the things I saw from the very beginning was a group of people who love their church, and for lack of a better word, we need to rebuild it. St. Francis heard Jesus tell him, "Rebuild my church," in prayer. And I believe that's what happened here. And so I hired a team of people here since I've come, who would have the same vision as I would to rebuild a parish, to rebuild the church. And we've done an awful lot with the Rebuilt book. It was put out by a parish in the Baltimore Archdiocese over 20 years ago, Father Michael White and his pastoral associate. And we've modeled much of what we do on them. And they've grown exponentially over the years. Now, since I've been here 3 years, we've added 300 households to our registers. And in the pandemic, when we were closed for Mass, we actually added 70 households because of our live stream. Yeah.
That's great. I love it. We're gonna talk more about what you guys are doing there toward the end of our interview. But thank you for letting us know who you are for the audience. There's a lot of people out there who I'm connected to who will recognize your face, and I'm excited. I'm excited to bring you to those people as well, and to everyone else. I mean, I have a lot of very dear friends of mine who are connected to the Catholic Church all throughout different states, and even in South Jersey with my aunt, who's very active in her Catholic Church. So we're going to dive into gratitude today, and we're going to talk about gratitude and how the power of gratitude really has the ability to transform us in many ways with our mindset. So the first question I have to ask you before we dive into this, Duck, is how has gratitude been a part of your life, and how has it helped you?
That's a great question. I have to go back to elementary school. When I was in the 5th grade, my mom passed away. Okay. And, I thought my world was shattered, which it was at that time. But there are 2 people that entered my life after my mom's death in a very profound and wonderful way. The first was my grandmother, my mother's mother, okay, who took care of us every day for 3 years. And then my dad remarried when I was in 9th grade. And I still have this mother with me. So my grandmother and the love, the kindness, the generosity that she gave to me and my sister, and this woman who initially, honestly, I felt a little animosity toward. How many years later, my mom passed in 1970. Mm-hmm. So, I can't count the years at this point. That's 50 years, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
50 years. And my dad remarried in 76, So my point is this, that she has become one of the most influential and important people in my life. And so my gratitude is to 2 women who just stepped up to the plate and saw a need in this young boy at the time, and provided guidance and love and compassion and understanding. And certainly, my mom, I call her my mom, even though she's my stepmother, I call her my mom, had me, as I would say, during my wonderful high school years. I'm sure we can all relate to having those wonderful high school years.
Yeah.
Hey, she had me during the toughest years.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to my God for bringing those people into my life. I am grateful for literally the thousands of parishioners that I've met in my priesthood. Mm-hmm. People have strengthened my faith, because when I walk up, it's funny, I can walk up the aisle on a Sunday. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. Sometimes, the last mass or whatever. And as soon as I turn around and I look at them and I see them smiling, all of a sudden I just realize how grateful I am to be able to lead people in prayer. Mm. And I think of all their stories and their stories of gratitude and how they enrich and embolden me to be even more grateful for them and for what I've been given in my life.
I love it. I think about, just so that I could sort of jump in and share, I would love to, I think it's really easy for us to be grateful for the things that we have and the people that we have present in our lives right now. But I guess when I think about gratitude, I think about the fact that I am now, I can look back and say that I am grateful for growing up with my mom, who was sick. And because if I wouldn't have grown up with her, I wouldn't have learned compassion. I wouldn't have learned empathy. I wouldn't have learned what life is like for someone suffering, and I would not be on the path that I'm on. So I think it's also important to think about the things that are serving us now that at the time we may not have been able to, like, visually understand what is the purpose of this pain and how is this going to serve me. So I think it's being grateful even for the things that we thought weren't so great.
In church talk, we call that the wounded healer.
Yeah.
The wounded healer. That's what you are, Michelle. That's what I am. When someone calls me with a death, I don't want to say it's easy for me, but if you have a lived experience of something,
Yeah.
it's easier to have that compassion, that gentle heart, that ability to wrap your arms around someone and to know what they're experiencing. And it just makes it that much easier for you to relate to them and to understand them. Sure.
Yeah.
I truly believe God takes trials and challenges in our lives and then utilizes them later on in life at some point so that we can help others.
Yeah.
And what a gift that is. What a gift that is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because we can relate in so many different ways. So as we get ready to celebrate Thanksgiving this week, I know, it's a different year. It's a different kind of Thanksgiving we're all about to have. It's a different experience we're living through it with this pandemic. People might be experiencing financial strain, employment strain, the loss of a loved one. But then they also might be struggling with the fact that this is a different kind of Thanksgiving and they can't spend it with those that they love. So I would love for you to share would you like to offer those who might be struggling right now, some type of message to help them, because it might not be a good experience for them this year, or one that's less traditional.
First of all, I think to have an attitude of gratitude is really important. Okay. The people in life who are the happiest are people who help and do things for others. Every study I've seen shows that. Okay. So while we may be disconnected from our families, maybe we've lost a job or whatever, does it cost anything to be kind? Does it cost anything to be compassionate? Does it cost anything to text someone who might be lonely or alone? Do something helpful or kind for another person. And don't forget yourself. Do something good for yourself. At the very beginning of this pandemic, one of my parishioners stopped by, it was like in March, right at the very beginning. And he came by, he's like, "Do you have everything? Do you need anything?" He was so kind. He said, I just left my wife and she's all upset because she lost her job. He said, and I looked at her and I said, "Listen, you have me and you have your 2 kids and we have a home and we have food. So what are you worried about? What are you worried about?" You see, it's all in perspective. A dear friend of mine from high school, and I still have a lot of friends from high school, actually, we were talking a few months ago, just before we kind of reopened churches and reopened restaurants and everything. And she said to me, "I am so tired of people complaining." She said, "I said to one person, why don't you just be grateful that you don't have COVID?
Yeah.
Why don't you just be grateful that you have food and that you have shelter?" I mean, we look at how many millions of people have had to apply, right?
Yeah.
For, aid and unemployment and, getting food from pantries, et cetera, which we also have here, by the way. So again, it's all a matter of what you look at. Do you count your blessings? Make a list of your blessings. Make a list of what your blessings are. One of the things I do with married couples, and we could do it here with blessings, I ask them first time I meet them when they're preparing for marriage, I say, "Well, I want you to go home tonight. Don't talk to each other about this. Write down all the beautiful qualities about your future spouse that you like. and put that in an envelope and seal it. And at the wedding, sometimes I say, I have 2 envelopes here. And when you have your first fight, I want you to open it and read it to each other. You see, it's the same thing with gratitude and blessings, right? We should write down what our blessings are. And you know what, folks, we also have to accept that there's things in life we cannot change, right? We can't. We can't change the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic with a second wave or whatever we want to call it, right?
Yeah.
So we have to go with it, and we have to make do, and we have to do our best, okay? But it means that we can still practice kindness. We can listen to our hearts. We can still help other people, even if we've lost things, we don't have a lot of money or whatever, you could rake Mrs. Jones Leaves, who's 95, you know what I mean? Like, and that will make you feel good, and do something for yourself.
Yeah.
Do something, one of the things I did initially, I'm still trying to do it as much as possible, but I was walking through a park. We have a park here. And I was taking long walks in the park and just looking up at the trees, looking up at the sun, and looking at the brook, realizing the goodness of creation.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I can't go see people. I can't do this, but at least I've got this.
Yeah.
And I can be thankful for that.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that. I mean, I was the same way. I felt like I was getting an exhale because I was slowing down, and I was able to like take in the beauty of the park and take in the beauty of nature, because I don't know, like most people, I felt overscheduled. And when all of this happened, I was not overscheduled, and I was suddenly present to, nature, and was like, wow, isn't this amazing? So yeah. And maybe it is an opportunity to just slow down and be reflective and count your blessings. Like you said, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Maybe this isn't the year to get everything you want, but maybe it's the year to appreciate everything you have. It's easy sometimes to look at the glass as half full, but empty. But I always like to look at it as half full.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be optimistic. I want to live the virtue of hope. And I think that's very important. The virtue
I love that.
Very, very important. And I think during this time, this past 8-9 months, that virtue, is so important. And I'll be very honest with you. In the very beginning, one day I was in the church and I sat there. I'm getting emotional now. I'm sorry. And I just started crying. And I was yelling at God, saying, what is going on? Why is this happening? I don't understand.
Yeah.
And no, I don't. None of us do, right? But then, I began to reflect and then just pray a little bit more. And then just, and in the silence of my heart, I just heard, be still, be calm. This is something you can't control. Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Be grateful for what you have. Listen and be grateful for what God's given you. That's important.
Important. I feel like, I teach a resilience program to my clients for employers who want their people to be, stay engaged, stay empowered. Their mental well-being can be compromised working from home and isolation. And one of the things I teach is the 5-minute journal. And that's just because it's something that's just been very important to me. It is a daily routine. And I feel like people need practical things to apply if they want to do something. Otherwise, it's just an idea. So you sort of need to guide them. But I share it because it's worked for me that like every morning I grab my phone, and instead of scrolling on social media, what I do is I go to this journal, and it asks you for what are the 3 things you're grateful for today, and upload a photo. And then at the end of the day, what were you grateful for that happened in the day? And that practice really does shift my mindset and my energy in the morning. Do you have anything that you recommend people do to like practically start to apply gratitude to their lives, like every day?
Actually, I do something similar, but I'm a little more old fashioned. I have a journal. I still have a journal. I mean, I do have a cell phone, as you know, but for me, what I like to do when I wake up in the morning and I just say, my own little prayer, and I just say, thank you, God, for today. Give me the strength to do what I need to do this day, whatever that may be. And I offer this day for you, and for anyone I come together with, and let it be blessed. And then at the end of the day, what I try to do before I go to bed, if I don't fall asleep on the couch, um, I'm getting older. I sit there and I try to think about what happened today and what were the blessings that I had today. And what could I do better? And like, how did I not, like, for instance, this is going pre-COVID. I was called to a nursing home. And again, folks, I like telling the truth about my own life. And Michelle knows me well, and I'm very real. So I had been called to the local nursing home for an anointing. Someone was actively dying. And on my way out, there was a woman sitting in the wheelchair. And she's like, are you a Catholic priest? I said, yes, I am. I said, but I'm very busy. I have to run back to my church because I had a wedding appointment coming in. Okay. So I was going to be like late for that or whatever, So I got in the car, and as I drove, I said, why did you do that? Do you realize what a blessing she could be to me, and and I could be to her? And I turned back around and I went back, and she was still in the wheelchair in the same spot. And I said, I'm sorry. Did you want to talk? And she looked at me and she started crying, and she said, yes, I want to go to confession. And I was like, oh my God, And so, but like, I thought to myself, you can't, if you move too fast, sometimes you miss the blessings that are there, and the opportunity for blessings that are there, and I think that's important. To take stock of your day, I think, is really, really important. I mean, that for me, that's very a practical thing to do, and it helps me refocus, certainly for the next day, or the next week or whatever, and say, okay, I have to be more in tune with, my blessings and where I've been blessed. And one of the things I do, my homilies, and people who know me really well, like here at the parish, and I even say them in my homilies, I don't only write my homilies for the people of the parish, I write them for me. I write them for me so I can grow as a person. And I can grow in gratitude. In fact, last Lent, when we were all shut down and we were just live streaming, I talked a lot about the attitude of gratitude, during the initial phase of the pandemic, because I felt people really were yearning to hear, about, and to be kind of challenged. Like, what is it that you are really grateful for?
Right. You said something I just want to grab onto. You said slow down and take stock. What signifies the holiday season is Black Friday and what follows after Thanksgiving, right? And that's actually a period of time where we are going 50 miles an hour just trying to get it all covered. I love what you say about slow down, take stock, and repeat what you said about this year might not be the year you get it all, but it might be the year that you are present to what you have.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something people can take forward as we enter into the Christmas season.
Absolutely. You're not going to get, maybe it's not the year you get everything you want, but maybe it's the year to appreciate everything that you have.
I love that.
Everything that you have.
I love that. So you are doing some really cool things up at Sacred Heart. You sort of you're making church cool and relevant. Take a minute to share with us what you do and how you're different. I know you mentioned that you're you're in it for the long haul with your your virtual. So share with us what you're up to.
Sure. We're modeling our parish after the parish I mentioned, the Church of the Nativity, down in the Baltimore Archdiocese.
Mm-hmm.
It was a priest that took over a parish that was kind of floundering, et cetera, and had a vision, and hired folks who had a like vision. And he wrote a book called Rebuilt. It's great. But he's written a few books, actually. But when I hired my director of music and evangelization, Fred, he's the guy, if you watch us on the weekend, you'll see him at the piano.
Yeah.
We sat down and talked about this, this whole Rebuilt. And Anna, who's our worship leader, also our lead singer, the three of us, had this vision. And so we started to incorporate it. So the first step was we started using contemporary Christian music, which if you come to our church or hear us on a live stream, it's very different than what many or most Catholic churches might use, except Nativity, of course. There are a couple of other churches in our diocese that are beginning to do what we are doing. And in the future, I'm hoping to actually run some workshops here for pastors and parish staffs, to kind of do it. And we know, and what I like about Father Tom White is he's very clear about the fact that not everyone is going to like what you're doing, and that's fine. And you have to understand and accept that. But for every person, and he's right, in the book he says, for every person you lose, you gain 3 or 4, and that's exactly what has happened here. Okay. Folks are yearning for spirituality. They're yearning for their relationship, those who are actively looking for a relationship with Jesus Christ. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do, is help them be. Our parish mission statement is, after 3 years, we finally have it. It's so difficult to understand. Be disciples, make disciples. That's it. Be disciples, make disciples. And so when people tune in to hear us, they're going to hear out of my mouth an awful lot on a Sunday. What does it mean to be a disciple? Okay. Sometimes I think I'm overkilling it, but then people say to me, no, that's good. We need to keep hearing that. Okay. So that message then, with the contemporary Christian music, taking a relevant homily, how is this impacting our lives? Like through the first wave of the pandemic, one of the things I talked about was, how do we deal with this? And so trying to be relevant to people. The other thing is our youth programs. There was nothing here, and now we have begun to reintroduce our youth programs, both junior high and senior high. Very, very important. I've recently hired a pastoral associate who's going to begin bereavement ministry for those who have lost a loved one. She's also doing the RCIA process. And she's also doing some scripture study. I've been doing some scripture study. We have these small Christian community groups that also meet during Advent and Lent. So we for years, I can't take any credit for this, we've had what they call the Helping Hands Ministry, which is basically our food pantry. So like this past Saturday, 187 bags of food went out for Thanksgiving, plus everyone got a $20 gift card to ShopRite.
Nice.
Okay. So, and we've expanded that too, and now we're helping some shelters in Jersey City by collecting clothing and collecting toiletries and household items and things like that. But it all starts with the liturgy and what we do and how we can become relevant, like a woman who's been coming here, she just came twice, and she came out of Mass this weekend, and she said to me, she grabbed my hand and she goes, I know I'm not supposed to grab your hand, but I have to. I said, oh, okay, it's all right. And she said to me, she goes, you have to stop making me cry. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, you make me cry. I said, I bring you to tears? Is it that bad? And she goes, no. She's like, no, what you say, it touches the heart. And please God, I hope I can always do that, so that's what we're doing here, and we're really we're working hard at this stuff to
Yeah.
help people.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Especially now. And like I said, last Easter, of course, we were all closed, right? On our live stream, we had 15,000 views.
Yay! Good for you.
15,000. That's a hell of a lot, right? That's a hell of a lot of views, right? I know.
Awesome. Very good.
We've had people not only from around the state, but around the country. We get emails, and even out of the country. We had for a while, we had a family from Great Britain was always watching us, Ireland, even Lebanon, Beirut, Lebanon, which is actually very Christian, very Catholic.
Wow.
In the Middle East.
That's great. That's great.
Christian country. Yeah.
I want to acknowledge we have some people who have chimed in, and for the folks who are watching, I wanted to pop up some of the comments so you could see. You have some people who want to send you some love here. We have Maria Pafuni saying,
Maria.
It says, my mentor, Koshi, he's saying a couple of things. Count your blessings one by one. Thanks, Koshi. This is it. That was when we were talking about it is what it is kind of situation. But he also shares this: when peace like a river, adebeth, what is it? Andeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say it well. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Do you know this? Is this familiar?
It's a song.
Is it a song?
It's a contemporary Christian song, yes.
Oh, okay.
Because I listen to 95.5 all the time, so
that's awesome.
It's definitely a contemporary Christian song. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they were just checking in. I always like to just acknowledge people that take the time to stop by, say hello, and check in, and it's always good to hear from people. You were very important to me, Father Kelly Duck, with the youth group. I mean, I think I've told you this so many times, but I love that you're talking about the youth group that you're doing. I think kids need and can find a haven in their youth group, a place of pure acceptance. That's what I did when I was part of your youth group. And I think now more than ever, I feel for kids living through this pandemic. They need the connection and they need the community. So I love that you're doing that. And because I know personally how it served me. I get emotional thinking about it. It was truly a haven for me. So, and many of my former CYOers I'm still friends with, who I know our group had an impact on them. So I love the work that you're doing. And if I can be of support to your youth group, you let me know.
Thank you. And if anyone, ever wants to watch us on live stream, right? You can go to wearesacredheart.org. Wearesacredheart.org. And when you go on to our website, hey, read my welcome message. I wrote a welcome message. And I think you'll see that's the attitude and the mentality here at Sacred Heart, that we are an open community who welcomes all from all walks of life, whether you're completely grounded in your faith or whether you're just kind of passing through and not sure where you're going on life's journey. Whether you're straight, whether you're gay, whether you're bi, whether you're LGBTQ, whether you're tattooed or a soccer mom, no matter who you are, you have a place here at Sacred Heart. And that's been from the beginning, because there are too many places that judge. And we want Sacred Heart to be a judgment-free zone and a place where people can come to worship, give praise to God, and love one another. Mm-hmm. That's what we want. That's what we want.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Father Kelly, for being here. I'm so thrilled that you said yes to joining me. And thank you for the message of gratitude on this Thanksgiving week. And happy Thanksgiving. And I look forward to staying in touch with you.
Thank you, Michelle. You have a blessed Thanksgiving, too.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.